Well, it's now time to have our business chat segment, and joining me in studio is Paul Nzoka, the proprietor of Lakewood School. And our subject of discussion today will basically be on the cost of scrapping the ranking. What impact has this had on private schools?
Thank you so much, Mr. Ogina. First and foremost, private schools, they normally get their income from the parents, from the high performance that they get in their schools. Now, once this one is done and the CS has scrapped it, definitely the private schools will have to go an extra mile to see how best we can make our schools known through good performance.
One of the things that stood out is that each time the results were announced, you could see quite a number of private schools being among the top schools, in the top 20, in the top 10. And right now we are seeing a situation whereby the schools might even have now to advertise because this particular tradition has been dealt away with. Where does this leave you as a school? Will it see you maybe spending more in terms of spending?
Exactly. This one leaves the private schools in a very awkward situation, whereby we'll have now to dig deeper into our pockets to start and advertise through the newspapers, through the TV, which will be very costly because not all private schools will afford, honestly, to be aired on TV or even to put their schools in the newspapers.
Do you feel that there's still room to appeal to have maybe the Ministry of Education rethink their decision on this?
Yeah, they should. Because in as much as the CS talked about the 11 factors and others he never mentioned about the negatives of ranking, we also have so many millions of reasons why ranking should be there. Yeah.
And maybe just share with us some of the reasons you feel strongly why we should have the ranking system returned.
One, ranking encourages competition, motivation of both pupils, teachers and parents. And then secondly, it also creates that the atmosphere of handwork and even waking up very early in the morning, knowing so well at the end of the year, after 8 years course, I'll be mentioned somewhere. It also demotivates the students. There are those students who are waiting so much to hear their names being mentioned by the CS. It never came. In as much as it will disappoint others, there is that top cream that was never motivated.
So, Mr. Nzoka,
yes,
where does this place you as people in the private sector? Because you will now have maybe to come up with some other interventions to ensure that you still remain competitive now that this tradition is no longer there.
It's a marketing strategy the CS are skewed from the private sector. And definitely the private school stakeholders, they'll have to rethink and even appeal to the CS to bring the ranking back. Because honestly, in as much as it's talking of discouraging other students, it has really and completely killed the private sector. Because through the number of people that we get, we pay taxes like any other Kenyan. So honestly, our schools, they run out of children. And definitely the amount of tax we pay to the government, definitely, it will go down.
So does this mean the fact that you might have a reduction in the number of students, because right now the public institutions as well as the private will have the same sort of pedestal to operate from? Does it mean you might have to cut down on some of the fees you charge, because we are likely to see a drop in the numbers? Exactly.
It might push some private schools to do that, because now it has only been left now to the schools that are always known to be at the top. So what about those young schools that just started the other day? Where does it put them? They will lack children. And definitely some others, as you said, they'll have to cut the cost. Because most of the parents now, they will run towards the public schools. Because even as you saw in the newspaper, they're also going to give more priority to the public schools.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
We do hope that there'll be some intervention done on that particular front. Well, we've been speaking to Paul Nzoka, the proprietor of Lakewood School, and his views are that the issue of scrapping of the ranking system has affected negatively private institutions, and they hope that this will be changed moving forward.